Today is the 19th day of the month of Kislev. We are finishing off today chapter 29, discussing Midos Tovos, proper character traits. We'll be going from paragraph 18 through the end of the chapter, paragraph 21. We also will begin chapter 30, which discusses the laws of Lashon Harah, literally translated as evil speech, gossip, inappropriate speech, talking about other people. In chapter 30, we'll be doing paragraphs 1 through 3. So chapter 29, paragraph 18. We previously talked about the prohibition of losisna as a chicha b'vecha. If you're upset at somebody, you gotta let them know. You can't keep it bottled up inside. There's also mitzvah of tochacha, of rebuking somebody who did something wrong. So if somebody wronged you, you have to let them know, because you're not allowed to keep any hatred or upsetness you might feel inside. In addition, you have a mitzvah to rebuke them. Now let's say somebody harms you or hurts you, and you know for whatever reason, whether this person is just not a nice guy, whether they have some psychological thing stopping them from seeing your perspective, you know they're not going to listen to you. No matter what you say to them, they're not going to listen, and it might cause whatever issue was there beforehand, it might cause it to get even worse. Then what do you do? In this case, we have no choice. We have to just work on our own midos without involving them. We can't approach them, because approaching them might make it worse. And like we saw, you could only rebuke somebody if you think they're going to listen to you. And also, the whole point of speaking it out with them, of not keeping the hatred in your heart, is to talk it out, to help to release the hatred, to release it, to solve the issue. And if by speaking it out, you're going to make it bigger, so the only solution is to work on yourself, to forgive the person for hurting you, for harming you, even though you don't have the opportunity to speak it out with them. This is a very high spiritual level. This is not an easy thing to do. If you can't pull it off, at least try working on yourself that you're not resentful anymore, that you can move past it if you can't actually forgive them. But if you're able to forgive them, wow, that is unbelievable. Paragraph 19. We already discussed treating other people properly in general. We have to be extra careful when we're dealing with a widow or an orphan. Due to their tragic life situation, they're going to be much more sensitive. Words that somebody else might be able to brush off, they might have a harder time brushing off. And therefore, that requires extra sensitivity on our part. Hashem says that they don't have a husband or a father to look out for them. So you know who looks out for them? I look out for them. If you upset that child, if you upset that widow, you know who's going to take retribution? You know who's going to stand up for them? It's going to be me. So yes, even though we have to be careful with everybody that we come across, that we're treating them properly, we have to make sure that we're treating people that are in a tragic life situation even more carefully and with more sensitivity. Paragraph 20. In the fourth book of Torah, in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, there's a verse where it says, "V'yiyu nekim be'enei Hashem u'be'enei Yisrael." You shall be found clean. Make sure to be found clean in the eyes of Hashem, of God, and in the eyes of the Jewish people. So we understand what it means to be clean in the eyes of God. It means we're not doing anything wrong. What does it mean to be found clean, to be found innocent, so to speak, in the eyes of the Jewish people? So says the Gemara, you know what this means? It doesn't just mean actually being factually innocent. It means making sure that we're not even having an appearance of doing something wrong. Our behavior is supposed to be such, not only that we don't do something wrong, but that we're careful that it doesn't look like we're doing anything wrong either. When I was in high school in Israel, so the head of we had a dorm, we slept in the dormitory, and the rabbi who's in charge of the dormitory, his name is Rabbi Aaron Tendler, he said to us, he once was giving us a talk, and he said that if there's a boy that goes in someone else's room, the rooms we each had our own closets with locks in them, but the doors didn't have locks in them, the doors to the room. He said if somebody is in someone else's room with no members of that room in there, even though you're not doing anything wrong, you're not taking anything, you're not using somebody else's stuff, that's a problem of Yunakim. It doesn't look right. And we have to be careful about how we're perceived as well. I'll tell you a funny example, which I always think about. I apologize in advance if it's TMI, but to me this is a classic case. Sometimes you go to a public bathroom and the bathroom's a little bit it's not so nice, let's say. The toilet seat might be dirty, there might be stuff around. This is not nice. So of course you clean it up so that you could use it a little bit, but you don't clean it up more than the bare necessities for you to use it in a not disgusting manner. There might be some garbage, some disgusting stuff on the floor, but we ignore that. Somebody might clean the toilet, use the toilet, and scoot out of there as fast as they could. But what does the next person coming in after you think? They don't know when that garbage was placed there, when the bathroom got all disgusting. So they see you leave, and they go in and see a disgusting bathroom over here. And depending on the location, there may be somebody waiting outside, waiting to use the bathroom after you leave. and therefore they might actually see you leaving. They come in the disgusting bathroom, and they don't know there was some person before you. They're going to say, look all this mess the guy left behind. And especially for me, wearing a yarmulke wherever I go, and then I feel like I have the responsibility of the Jewish people on my shoulders. And so for me, it's especially sensitive, what they're going to think about me personally or about all Jews in general. And so though it's a pretty disgusting thing, something which I think is important is that when we leave a public bathroom, even if we didn't make the mess, we clean up the mess. I'm not saying we have to sit there and scrub the toilets, but at least make sure it looks a bit presentable. You're not leaving a total mess behind, even if the mess is not from you. Because this mitzvah, this of you and a kiyum, we have to be clean in the eyes of Hashem and in the eyes of people as well. Paragraph 21. There's a midas, it's called a midas chasidus, a pious trait to not accept gifts. Hashem provides, God provides us with what we need. We shouldn't want to accept gifts from others. Now, you got to be very careful with this, because very often we're giving a gift by accepting gift. Somebody wants to give us something. If we turn them down, we say, no, I don't want it, that could be a little bit offensive. They're trying to show their love, their care, and I'm saying, nope, I don't want that. So we have to be thoughtful about this. We can't just take it at face value to stop taking any gifts. But at least you shouldn't be chasing after gifts. At least you should know we'll take gifts because we think it's an appropriate to take gift. But if we could bring ourselves to a place where it's something that we don't look forward to, we take gift because that's what we're supposed to do, not necessarily because we want it. That's a midas chasidus. That's a pious trait to develop. Paragraph 30. Paragraph 30 discusses 3 different things: Lashon Harah, evil speech, gossip, all sorts of inappropriate language, taking revenge, the prohibition of taking revenge, and the prohibition of bearing a grudge. Paragraph 1. Within Lashon Harah, the general category of prohibited speech, there's a specific category subsection called rechilas. Rechilas is usually translated as talebearer. You should not, says in the Torah, you should not be a talebearer amongst your nation. What does that mean, talebearer? So the Talmud explains this means person A going person B and saying person B, do you know what person C said about you? Person C claimed this about you. He said that you said XYZ. He said that you did something wrong, whatever it is. If person A who does that, he just transgressed this prohibition of don't do rechilas. Says the Shulchan Aruch, quoting the Gemara, this is such a severe crime that this brings death to the Jewish people. Paragraph 2. When we say Lashon Harah as itself, it usually refers to saying something negative about somebody else when that negative thing is true, when that negative thing happened. That's usually called classic Lashon Harah, classic evil speech. Reporting something negative about somebody else, even if it's true, is prohibited. There's another subcategory of Lashon Harah called Mosi Shemra. Mosi Shemra is where I'm libeling somebody else, where I'm speaking negatively about someone, and I'm making it up. They didn't really do that bad thing. That's also considered Lashon Harah. It's a subcategory of Lashon Harah, and it's also obviously even more severe because now I'm totally making it up. But in Judaism, we don't distinguish between whether it's true or not. Regardless, it's prohibited. Now, not only is it forbidden to speak Lashon Harah, all forms of Lashon Harah, it's also forbidden to listen to Lashon Harah. Points out the Shulchan Aruch, you know why the Jews had to wander in the desert for 40 years? They couldn't go, that generation, the first generation left Egypt, couldn't go into Israel. They had to all day out in the desert. Their kids went into Israel because they listened to Lashon Harah. The spies, if you're familiar with the story in the Torah, the spies came back from Israel. They said Lashon Harah about the land of Israel, at that time called the land of Canaan. So to speak, saying Lashon Harah about God himself, because God told us it was a great land, he'll take care of us. And they're saying, no, it's a horrible land. No way that we could conquer it. No, it's not going to work. Because the Jewish people listened to them, they accepted what they're saying as truth. That's why they couldn't go into Israel. That's why they all had to die out in the desert. That's how severe Lashon Harah is. Paragraph 3. Says the Shulchan Aruch, here's an example of how careful we have to be with Lashon Harah, with these laws. If person A asks person B, he says, where could I find a fire? And person B responds, oh, there's going to be a fire in so-and-so's house because he's always cooking stuff. Obviously saying it in a negative way, there's always food on the stove, he's a gluttonous person, he's always cooking. Responding that manner is transgressing Lashon Harah. Even though the second guy was merely answering the question of the first guy, and he didn't say anything straight out, but he alluded to something negative about the third person, that second person has transgressed Lashon Harah, and the first person, if he believes it, if he takes it at face value, he's also transgressed Lashon Harah by accepting it, by believing it. This concludes today's episode. Have a wonderful day, and see you tomorrow.